years after the Fukushima nuclear disaster, ocean waters off the West Coast are testing positive now for radioactive elements. How concerned should we be by that? New tests have revealed that the radiation from Fukushima is getting closer and closer to the west coast of the United States. The Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution is reporting that an August sample of ocean water taken off the coast of Vancouver, British Columbia, tested positive for cesium-134, one of the radioactive elements released as a result of the Fukushima disaster. That same group also found traces of Fukushima radiation as far down the Pacific coastline as California. So how big a development is this? And could American lives now be directly at risk from the Fukushima fallout? So how big a development is this?
Well, it shows what's really been expected, that the massive releases of radioactivity, both atmospheric that fell out on the ocean and liquid that are still on a daily basis pouring into the ocean, are slowly or not so slowly making their way to the North American coastline. So it is significant that in the open ocean, there is a doubling or tripling of radioactive cesium-134 and cesium-137 compared to background levels. But this is going to keep going on for years, decades, even centuries into the future.
Because it's continuing to come out of Japan, and B, we need to talk about bioaccumulation. To the extent that it's continuing to pour out of Fukushima, how is that going? Is Fukushima still a major source of radioactive pollution to the Pacific?
Well, every day it's 300 tons of radioactive groundwater that flows into the sea, and it contains
every day,
every single day for the past nearly 4 years now. 300 tons of radioactive groundwater containing a toxic alphabet soup of radioactive poisons. Cesium-134, cesium-137, strontium-90, plutonium isotopes. That's each and every day. So it is an unprecedented catastrophe for the oceans, what's going on.
I understand that the levels that the Woods Hole folks were finding was something like, what, 6 becquerels of cesium per cubic meter of seawater? Correct me if I'm wrong on those numbers.
Yeah, it was
right.
2 or up to 4 becquerels of radioactive cesium, depending on the isotope, per cubic meter. But the significance is that is open ocean seawater.
Right.
And like you said, the bioaccumulation, the biomagnification, we're talking about orders of magnitude concentration of these radioactive poisons in first plankton and then go up the food chain, and then we're at the top of that food chain. So that's just going to get worse the further up the food chain you go. And it's a very significant issue that the U.S. federal government, the state governments are not paying attention to. So there's very little monitoring of the seafood supply. by our government, and we have very weak standards, much weaker than Japan's. Japan allows 100 becquerels per kilogram in food. If it's above that, it's not fit for human consumption. Here in the United States, we allow 1,200 becquerels of radioactive cesium in food. How is it that Japanese people are only allowed 1/12 of what we're allowed to eat in our food in terms of radioactive contamination?
Are they actually enforcing that standard in Japan?
I believe they are. There are efforts to, especially the closer in to the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant, to really monitor the food. So what's possible is that food considered unfit for human consumption in Japan is being exported to places like the United States.